The footage you guys are currently looking at is all shot on iPhones. I say iPhones as in plural because some of the footage is from my iPhone 14 Pro and some of the footage is from my iPhone 17 Pro. But regardless, they're both shot on iPhones and they're both shot using the same method. The method that I'm going to be showing you guys today, that very method does something that instantly makes iPhone footage way more usable, and that is it bypasses Apple's software stuff that they do to video. Because like I recently talked about in the last video that I did, talk about how to bypass iPhone photos processing, Apple just likes to overprocess the images from their camera sensors. So the camera sensors are actually really, really good. And the iPhone has a good camera and it's just a really good solid camera device. However, Apple on the software end always tends to overprocess the photos and it just makes them look bad. So once you find a way to get around that processing, you can actually get some really good results. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I do to get past the overprocessing that Apple likes to do, only instead of doing it in the photos, doing it on video this time. If you guys wanna know how to do it in photo, I have a link to the description to a video I made showing you guys how to bypass Apple's processing and get better looking photos. But in today's video, we're gonna do the same kind of thing, but for video. This method actually works on, at least to my knowledge, like every iPhone. So before I start the video, I wanna go ahead and preface this by saying this is not a sponsored video. I'm gonna be talking about an app. The app company did not pay me to make this video. I'm making this by my own free will and just for the love of the game. I love sharing products with you guys that I genuinely like. So yeah, this is not a sponsored video. But yeah, this video is not sponsored and this app is also not free. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this app. And the app that I'm talking about is Pearla 3. So Pearla 3 is an iPhone app and it essentially allows you to have more control over the data that comes off of your iPhone sensor. Not only that, it allows you to bypass Apple's image processing, which in my opinion just ruins footage from iPhones. And it has a bunch of other cool little features that I'll get into when I get to that point in the video. But essentially this app is what I've been using and how I've been able to get better looking footage like you guys are seeing throughout this video that I've been shooting on my phone. So much so that I have completely stopped bringing, or at least even thinking about bringing my Sony cameras with me, because at the end of the day, when I am shooting things on the go, I'm not shooting things in like a professional environment. So I don't need to have the highest quality of, lenses and bodies and stuff like that. I want something that's just quick, easy to use and gets really good usable footage. And with this app, I'm able to do exactly that because like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, iPhones actually have really good camera sensors. They've had camera sensors that are really good for a while now. It's just the software end is kind of where they lack. And that's where you get a lot of the really just not good processing that just makes all the photos and videos look super fake and overly sharpened and overly digital. And just, I don't know why Apple hasn't gotten the hint yet, but nobody likes it. Nobody likes that type of look. And it's gotten to the point that people are like buying older generation iPhones because they just don't love how they're processing their photos and their videos. But with Pearla 3, you can get some insane looking footage directly from your iPhone. So let's stop talking about it and let's jump into this app and we'll kind of go from there. Just to prove a point, I am gonna be shooting this on my iPhone 17 Pro using Pearla 3 and show you guys my breakdown of the Pearla app, just to show you guys that it is possible to use this as a secondary or even a primary cam. So yeah, let's open up Pearla 3. I have my iPhone 12 here. It's a little beat up, it's old, and it's not even the Pro model, it's just the iPhone 12. And I'm gonna show you guys that you can still use this to get some good footage. So I'm gonna open up Pearla 3 on my iPhone 12, and as you can see, here is what you get once you open it up. So let's start at the top, and I'm gonna show you guys how I break down my settings after I just show you a little bit of the interface. So the interface is pretty easy to use. You just have your ISO, your shutter, EV, white balance, tint, focus, and zoom. Now zoom is basically just what lens you're using. With the iPhone 12, it only has 2 physical lenses. If I was using my iPhone 17 Pro that I'm using to record this video, I would have 3 options, but because this is the 12, I only have 2. So I can switch between the 13 or the 24, and that's the only options I get. I don't get any digital zoom, or I can use the front-facing camera as well. But why would you want to do that when the front-facing camera on these older iPhones suck? Let's go into the settings and show you how I set up the settings for this app to get the best quality possible. So in the first tab, which is the video tab, this is what I set my settings at. I have my settings for shutter angle instead of shutter speed. I have stabilization to cinematic, and I have And then I have my storage to save to library. You can either choose library or files if you want to save them to your files, but I just choose to save them in library. Then moving over to video settings or video formats, this is kind of where the important stuff is. So this is what I like to set it up as. I like to have my resolution as 4K open gates. I like my frame rate at 24. I like my codec at H.265. If you have newer iPhones, you'll have more codec options. And then compression, I like to keep it at max. That's you usually get the best quality footage that way. Next up is audio. I usually just leave this whatever the default was. Same thing here. And then monitoring, you can choose peaking if you want it or not. And then image processing, this is another really important tab. So this is where you can choose to shoot in log, which I have selected. You can also use film emulations or custom profiles. I prefer log because that's what's going to give you the most amount of flexibility in post. Then I set the sharpness to -1, grain to none, and grain size to small, even though we're not using it. And then mirror front camera in case we ever want to use the front camera, which we don't. Film emulation 2, I don't really touch. And then in log, here's where the fun stuff is. So you can see we can use a bunch of different types of log and record to those different types of log. I am recording to Sony S-Log3, which is what I use when I'm using my camera over here, which is my main camera, and all my other cameras, which are Sony's. I shoot in Sony S-Log3. So by doing this, I can easily color match the footage from my iPhone to my camera, which is huge, especially if I'm using my iPhone as like a B cam or getting pickup shots and stuff like that. Down here, you also have log monitoring. You can import your own LUTs if you want. And when you do that, it gives you an option to record the LUT, although I personally wouldn't do that unless you just want really, really quick turnaround times for your footage. But yeah, I usually just keep it on gamma assist, and then all the other settings I leave at as default. I don't really touch them. But yeah, with that, you can now start recording logs. So if I just record a quick clip, just do a little side-by-side action, boom, you can see it is recorded. And oops, if you go over to your recordings, you can see that it is in log. So yeah, as you guys just saw, this app works on even old iPhones like my iPhone 12. So this is how I've been able to get some log footage from my iPhone 12, my iPhone 14 Pro, and my 17 Pro. Even though my 17 Pro natively supports log, it supports Apple Log too. Apple's camera app doesn't let you shoot OpenGate. It only allows you to shoot in ProRes, which gives you massive files. And in my experience from the few tests I have done using the 2 different methods, like just in the built-in camera app from Apple and then Pearla. H.265 files from Pearla are almost complete, like they're 99% of the way there in quality compared to the ProRes files while being like 1/10 the size. So in my opinion, I don't really care about shooting in ProRes. I think the extra media really isn't worth it. And I've been getting good enough results from Pearla 3 in just the H.265 codec on all my iPhones from my 14 Pro to my 12 to my iPhone 17. Now, obviously, I primarily shoot on my iPhone 17, but sometimes here in the studio, I'll have my iPhone 17 as like my main camera for BTS, and I'll have like a secondary camera, which is my iPhone 14. But I mean, using this method, I've swapped out my B cam here in the studio for my iPhone, and I just shoot all my BTS on my iPhone because I can just get some really quick clips, and I can grade it the same way that I grade all my Sony footage because it shoots in S-Log, which is huge. But yeah, this little app that I've discovered is actually a really good app, and I have been using it for all my iPhone footage for the past few months. So if you guys are trying to get some better footage from your phone and you don't want to shoot in ProRes and have to shoot an external SSD because it takes so much file size, then I highly recommend getting Pearla 3. I'll leave it down in the description below. Again, this is not a sponsored video. I just genuinely been using this product. Pearla, if you see this and you want to sponsor a video, let me know. But yeah, with that being said, if you guys have any questions about this app, leave them down in the comment section below. Or if you guys know any other apps that are similar or do more than this, let me know as well because I would love to try it out. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.